for them. So
This podcast should be American. 110% fucking blood red American. It's a terrible place.
Awful.
Yeah, people just did holidays. They're broke. They're tired. Everybody's scattered. They just celebrated Christmas. They have no desire to celebrate my birth. Fuck that.
No, of course not. No.
Oh, we're good? Are we live? Is that a good thing to ask? It could have been so much smoother. It could have been so much. If had I just naturally continued a conversation, it'd have been so much better. You're a host. Why do you even need me?
Look, I was distracted.
I've seen your interviews. I've seen your stuff. You're really, really competent. Like, you're very good at what you do. Why are you sitting down and chatting with me right now?
I don't know what I'm doing here. I just got led to this building and like thrown in the door, and here I am.
Is this the precursor to a publicist getting fired? Is that what this meeting is right here?
Someone better get fired over this. I'm not happy.
David Farrier. Is the last name. I want to pronounce it right. David Farrier, thank you for sitting down with me, sir.
No, it's nice
Hello,
to be
everybody.
here.
Welcome. What was that?
It's nice to be here.
It's good. I'm glad. It is a pleasure to have you. Your movie, Tickled, is just on so fucked up on so many levels. It is so bizarre. So I want to get there, but take me back to you were in New Zealand.
Yeah.
You were doing a story on competitive online tickling.
Yeah, I'm an entertainment journalist in New Zealand, so I'm trying to find like entertaining stories to tell people, right? So it could be a musician that's touring the country, or a weird internet subculture, or and I turn these things into 2-minute stories. And I came across competitive endurance tickling, and just that phrase had me.
Sure.
I was like, this is insane.
I put that along with rock paper scissors championships and competitive cup stacking.
Yeah, 100%. Like ultimate frisbee. It's that kind of sport. And the money was great. So young men from all over the world would be flown into Los Angeles, and you'd be paid $1,500 to take part in a tickling contest. And they were all wearing Adidas gear. And it seemed like a legitimate, weird sport. Mm-hmm. And so that's where it started. And I just reached out to the organizers, and they were not into the idea of me covering them at all. It was very odd.
And it wasn't so much, their first reply wasn't, hey, we're not interested in the publicity. It was an attack on you personally.
Yeah, it was basically, we don't want to deal with a homosexual journalist. And, I got that. And it was so strange because just the videos themselves, it's like hot young men tickling.
You don't have to press the triangle. You could see the static thumbnail and know there's something pretty gay going on here, guys.
It's mega gay, mega gay. And so for the first response, and this was on their public Facebook wall, so they've got 20,000 likes. A lot of people have taken part in the sport. And it was just on their wall, we don't want to deal with a gay journalist. So I replied saying, what does my sexuality have to do with the story? I just want to cover this sport that's really well paid. And
well, your gay agenda is going to permeate everything that you do, right?
Yeah, completely.
You're viewing it through the lens of a homosexual.
So we see things very differently. But it's very odd. So I reply, and we had these emails that they got more and more homophobic and stranger. And I just started publishing them on a blog. I said this, they said this, I said this, they said this, and it got so extreme. And then I published some blogs, and then they hired lawyers to write me letters to say, stop doing this, you're defaming us. Yeah. So it just elevated on and on and on.
So at what point does this go from, this is a cute chat log that I'm going to keep on my blog for some fans to, no, we have to create a documentary about this. We need to dive deep.
Yeah, it was when the lawyers got involved, because by then to me it was like we'd just uncovered Scientology, and the pushback we got indicated that there had to be more going on. And so we started a Kickstarter to fund it. Once we did that, again, it escalated where this company, Jane and Brian Media, sent 3 reps from America, from New York and San Francisco, all the way to New Zealand to meet with me to basically tell me there's no story here, but if you do the story, you'll get sued into oblivion. So that was the point where we started shooting, because, this was just getting it, and this is all over tickling, you know?
Exactly. It's one thing... It's one thing to play the internet bully and to send the letters. Okay. It's another thing when you can fly 3 representatives over first class or whatever, have them show up
there's money
to
in
deliver the threat.
Because, up until then, it had all been, homophobic emails, and then that obviously paid some lawyers some money to send us letters saying, stop doing this or we'll sue you.
Throw some legal-sounding verbs in there, make it seem like we're serious.
And that felt dangerous to me, because in New Zealand, we don't really have that culture of threatening people with legal letters and that kind of thing. So that was all new to me.
What do you threaten there? To oversalt their fish? What is? I don't know. I know nothing about New Zealand.
We're just like,
how aggressive does a New
can you
Zealander
please
did.
stop? Like, can you please stop doing that?
Listen, I will ask again, and it won't be as polite.
Pretty much.
But I will ask you to stop.
We're pretty much like that. Like, we don't escalate things.
Right.
And this was escalating so quickly. But when they physically sent people to meet with us, I mean, I thought it was a joke initially. I was like, they're just posturing. This can't be about to happen. And then they turned up, and I met them at the airport, and it was the weirdest airport meeting I've ever been involved in. And they stayed in New Zealand for a week, telling us not to make the film. When I say us, I say me and my friend Dylan, who, you know, Dylan had started poking around into this company as well and looking at the websites they owned. And he had found out that not only did they own Jane O'Brien Media, which was this website for the tickling competition, they owned like 300 domain names all to do with tickling. Like ticklish military guys, ticklish.net, you know, ticklish gays, you know, just all these tickling websites. And so obviously this company was tickle obsessed.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
they found their corner of the internet. They found
Completely.
their niche, and they were going to exploit it.
Yeah, so Dylan and I, and what we also found out is that a lot of these websites that the same company owned, a lot of them were websites that were set up to apparently like to shame the boys who had been involved in the tickling. But the websites are created by the same company that is running the competition. So we were like, why are these people being shamed and bullied? And, you know, they're being doxxed. Like all their public information has been put on the internet by this company.
What a
And
weird
so-
and what a bizarre double dip too, to go like, okay, we're going to pay them and exploit them for the pornographic side of things, right? For the sexual, the fetish side of things. So we're going to make money there, but then we're also going to blackmail them, to dox them, give out their personal info. For what though? What is the gain there? They weren't making money off of that.
No, that's what
part
we
of the
couldn't figure
operation,
out.
right?
I mean, it seemed like if some of these young men, if they stopped taking part in the competition, then the organizers would basically turn on them and try and ruin their lives with these tickling videos. And I should say these tickling videos were everywhere. Like one Vimeo channel had about 600 competitive endurance tickling videos. And they're not 5-minute videos. These are hour-long clips. Like there's a lot of tickling out there and a lot of videos and a lot of men involved. And they're all paid really good money. Like $1,500 was minimum. Like some of them would get paid $12,000 for a tickling session. Which is great. This, you know, and that's fine if people want to make money from that. But what we saw is this pattern where some of the people in those videos were suddenly being harassed online,
right?
And then suddenly we were being harassed, and suddenly we're in these weird meetings in New Zealand with these 3 American men who are telling us, "Don't make a film. There's no story."
Right, which that's not what you say to someone who's shown that they're willing to make a documentary about you.
No,
when you say that there's
exactly.
no story there, or else something terrible is going to happen.
Yeah. So we booked tickets for America and we flew over and started following the story around. I mean, we went to a competitive tickling shoot, we staked that out, and then we basically traveled around America just trying to find out who is behind the company, why they are such a huge online bully, and, you know, and just to try and get an idea of the scale of the tickling.
It's so... I said right before we sat down to chat, like it's so difficult to talk about this because I want to ask about every step throughout the process, but I want to make sure that everybody goes to actually see it. I don't want to spoil who Jane O'Brien may or may not be, or why he or she may be doing what they're doing. So I don't know how comfortable or how much you want to reveal.
I mean, we can talk. I mean,
I haven't mentioned, by the way, the movie is called Tickled. It is a documentary that you created. It's phenomenal. It is. I watched it last week, and I've been waiting for this interview since I saw it. It's not often that happens. Sometimes you get sent a screening and go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll find a way to have a conversation about this. What I'm struggling with now is how to have this conversation without spoiling the entire movie because it is so good. Because it starts off as a weird fetish documentary and very quickly becomes something else. It becomes it's a murder mystery without a murder. It becomes
totally. I mean, it's, you know, it's called Tickled, and sure, there's tickling in it, but it's not about tickling. You know, it's about a whole lot of stuff, but it goes to some fairly dark places, and I think we can talk about some of it. I mean, you know, it's out in cinemas now, and hopefully people go and watch it because the scale of it, I don't think we can ever get across by just talking about it.
No,
but you know, what we found out very quickly was just the sheer volumes of money involved, and that's why they could afford to fly 3 people to New Zealand. But I guess what we also found out is that Jane O'Brien Media had been staging this competition for 3 years, but this pattern of behavior had been going on for over 2 decades. Like, this was a story that went way, way back, and so we started chasing that story as well. But I mean, what do you want to know? I mean, I
would love to hear, because here we have, I don't want to, there is an Oz behind the curtain, right? There is somebody who's pulling these strings, who's financing this operation. And as you said, some people get $1,200, some people get $10,000. Some of these young guys were getting cars. We're getting
really nice cars.
Like incredibly luxurious gifts. There was the spider weaving that web and then slowly luring them in. And then once they had them, it was like, well, you got to continue to perform and continue to be in these videos and support them, or else we will blackmail you, we will ruin your lives, we will destroy it. Fascinating to me, because I would think like, wow, there's that much money to be made off of tickle fetish pornography, but it sounds like that's not even the main source of income.
No, I mean,
this sounds like some eccentric bazillionaire's pet project, if you will, his particular fetish.
Yeah, I mean, that was the strange thing with this, because, you know, we assumed with the amount of money going into it that there must be money being made, right? And we met, in the film, we meet a tickling fetishist in Florida, and he's a professional tickler, and he's like, okay, some people love watching other people being tickled. It's like a sexual thing, and that's great for them, sort of thing. So Richard, he makes his whole living off tickling videos. So he has models, he hires them, he ties them down in a chair, and he tickles them, and he sells those videos on the internet.
Everybody at every step of the process knows what they're signing up for, what they're getting into.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Yeah, essentially it's an erotic website or a pornographic website, and that's what that is. Whereas with Jane and Brian Media, it's posited as the sport of tickling. Everyone's got their clothes on. It's a whole lot of straight guys that are doing this stuff, and it's definitely not, it's made very clear, it's definitely not erotica or porn, right? But once these guys, if they get offside with Jane and Brian, then what happens is these videos are suddenly on gay porn sites and all over the internet. So if you Google these young men's names, all you find is like the first 50 results is just that tickling video.
Right. Their full name, in some cases their address, telephone numbers, occupations, attached to a website.
Everything.
Gaytickling.net or whatever.
And it's basically made to make them look like some sort of pervert of some kind, which is just not what they signed up for. You know, they signed up for a tickling competition that was going to keep their name out of it, potentially not be online at all, and suddenly it's everywhere.
Yeah, these guys weren't even signing releases in most cases to have their information out there.
And a lot of these guys, they're from places around the world, including America, that aren't particularly liberal. They're from small towns, and being a gay tickling fetishist is like the worst thing that could happen to you.
Right.
And suddenly these videos are ending up with their football coach or their pastor or their girlfriend or their grandparents. And
well, the pastor was probably watching them already, to be clear.
This is probably true.
But the football coach.
True. The football coach was new for them, right?
Angrily pounding at his erection in the locker room. I can't believe I love this tickling. Man! Come on, Tommy!
It was, but that's the thing, like, all this is kind of funny, but it was also kind of really dark at the same time. So we were just trying to figure out what the hell was going on, basically. But no money was being made from them, and that was the mystery for us. They weren't making profit.
Right. I could understand, hey, pay us $10,000 or else your name and these videos will go up everywhere. Your employers, your children, your neighbors will find them. But that wasn't the case at all. It was merely a control. It was a fetish in and of itself. Is sort of what you learn throughout the process 100%. Of this documentary.
It was just to have control over these people's lives. You know, they weren't being extorted for money. It was just if they stepped out of line and, you know, this tickling competition, which is like the most innocent competition you can imagine being involved in. It's like, it's tickling. If you stopped that or you refused to play by the rules, then suddenly it was just your life was derailed by these videos. And there were lots of people involved. I mean, we talked to so many people, most of them too scared to talk on camera, but we ended up talking to a couple of people who had been promising athletes, and that had all been completely derailed from a tickling competition.
Right. Yeah. Oh, they should be drafted onto some football team. Yeah. Then suddenly the coach gets an email, and it's what could be his star athlete in a weird fetish site tickling video with his name exposed. And we got to let you go.
Completely. But, I mean, the difficulty with this whole thing is, I mean, we have a trailer out on YouTube for Tickled, right? And all the comments are under this, and probably all the comments that are coming into this interview now are people going, this can't be real. Like, this is all a mockumentary. It's all marketing. And, you know, and since the movie's come out, we've had people from Jane and Brian Media turning up to screenings and yelling at us when we're doing the Q&As, and still people think it's like some viral marketing scheme.
This is a weird avant-garde performance piece where you invent the sport, then you invent the company behind it, then you do a documentary on it, and you're going so far as to troll yourself at your own screenings.
Pretty much.
Pretty brilliant, man.
No,
very
thank
good,
you. I am a genius. But, you know, that's sort of what we're up against, and I can understand that because, you know, just as I talk about this, it is so strange and it does sound so outrageous, but it is true. It's been going on for 20 years, and the film is kind of about why that is.
And, you know, from the threats, the initial threats from the three folks, well, from the emails all the way to the three folks showing up, telling you not to do this, to them saying this is it, private investigators following you around. There must have been multiple parts of through this journey where you were concerned for your safety or your privacy or even...
Oh, completely. I mean, we were told very specifically that if we went to the United States to film the doc, there wouldn't be a moment where there's not a private investigator following us around, which again sounds outrageous, but in New Zealand, I'd had a private investigator following me around. So, like, this was all a very real situation that we were in. And so, you know, we pushed forward and we traveled around America shooting, but it was very, you know, it was an unusual thing because we didn't know who to trust. We knew this company had a lot of money and that they were fiercely protective of the secrets behind it. We didn't know whether that would cross over from, you know, verbal threats and legal threats into anything more physical. Mm-hmm. So we're always very aware of that.
You said that there have been private investigators showing up at screenings?
Yeah, I was at a festival in Missouri, the True False Festival, and we noticed two guys that looked incredibly out of place. And they looked to me like kind of like your typical like hardened New Yorker, like slicked back. I don't know, they're like a stereotype almost of like what a New York person would look like.
Sure.
And they were sitting in the front row, and one of them had a coffee cup that he was holding, and he'd shift his grip, but he'd never shift the cup. And we're like, we think he's like recording the film. Like, I don't want someone pirating this documentary that is, you know, not even out properly.
That's a trick
yet.
You guys used in the documentary.
Yeah, that was the other. That was the other book. That was the other crazy thing. Is the scene in the film.
Coffee cup.
Yeah, I thought that was like this technique I'd pioneered, you know, and it wasn't a great technique either, but they were doing it. So we sent the, you know, theatre staff in to tell them to stop, and they refused to leave. So we sent the police in to stop. And they were trying to record it, and there were two private investigators from New York who were hired to go to Missouri to try and, because, you know, I think the main entity behind the company, he's not the sort of person that will go to a cinema, so basically is just trying to get other people to film the film so he can see it.
Just send him a screener.
I know.
Right? Like at this point, hey, it's a love letter. Yeah. What's crazy is that this morning I started Googling Jane O'Brien Media and looking up the Twitter.
All the websites are still there.
All still there. Still very active. A very, very gaudy CG intro.
Oh, it's worth going. Like Jane O'Brien, just Google Jane O'Brien photography, and they've got a Facebook page as well.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, go there because it's fascinating.
It makes it seem like...
It's a
like
tickling
an
league.
X Factor type, but even the audition, it's like only 12 men out of 100,000 are chosen each year.
Totally,
it's like
it is
3D letters
it's like
flying through a space background. You're like, what?
X Factor reality show.
Yeah, it makes it, and it says this is a reality art project. We're known for pushing the envelope. Our contestants will stay at 5-star hotels, and very, very misleading.
Yeah,
and it's still there. So now,
it's still functioning. What
would be the I'm assuming as a journalist and as a filmmaker, and again, I cannot tell you enough how much I really enjoyed the documentary. Like it was super enjoyable, dark, twisted, but funny at times. You're brilliant. The subject matter is insane. So Tickled, go see it. It's out now. Someone just wrote, "Rich people messing with plebs." Yeah, that's kind of. There's an aspect of that. There's an aspect of that.
You know, it does come down to a story about power and control and manipulation. And it's just funny we hear when, Donald Trump is doing this run at president, and here's this guy who's got a lot of money, and he loves suing people. We end up in a similar situation with this tickling subject as well.
Trump also loves a good foot rub. He loves a good foot tickle. He loves oil and hairbrush.
Let's not talk about.
It's his favorite thing. It makes his hairpiece stand on end. It's just like, it's a very fuzzy erection up there. But I'm assuming as a filmmaker, journalist, obviously you want people to see the movie, right? And that'd be a great thing. But what is it? Is there a thesis statement for you? Is there an intended outcome? Do you want to see Jane O'Brien Media shut down? Pretty fucked up what they're doing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, on a very simple level, it's a warning for anyone that is thinking about going and doing a competitive tickling competition shoot to maybe think I should do something else.
It still sounds fake as you say it, and I've seen it, and I believe you, and I trust you, but as you say, like, it's a warning to anybody who's thinking about competitive tickling.
Completely. Just think twice before you take part, right? So that's like on a very primary level, there's that. I mean, but there's also, like, all throughout this, Dylan and I saw, it was an injustice, essentially. Some terrible stuff was happening. There seemed to be some things that seem, if not incredibly unethical, seem to be slightly legally dodgy. And, if we put this out there, I mean, it's out there in the world, it's exposed, and hopefully something can happen, But I mean, the FBI back in the day was involved in this story, So I mean, I've called the FBI making this, saying, guys, I think this thing that you investigated is back again. And again, the FBI and tickling seems outrageous, but it's all real. Right.
But there's blackmail going on. There's extortion. There's a whole bunch of layers to it that the FBI would be interested in.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. So, but when you're a New Zealander and you're calling the FBI and you're trying to explain this, it's incredibly hard for the message to get through. So, I haven't heard back from the FBI, but I sort of let them know what's happening. But in having the film out there, that's my message, having that out there, it's exposing this stuff, and we'll see what happens.
I also love that there were many times, I try to avoid confrontation at all costs.
Same.
But
It's miserable.
You did a really damn good job of standing up to bullies.
Thank you.
At multiple phases, it would have been very easy to accept the threat or to just walk away. Yeah. But you could see, from trailing people and after a stakeout to marching right up to the door that is the scene of a crime, I have to commend you on that, because I try to avoid conflict at all costs. It makes me sweaty just thinking about conflict.
I'm the same. And it was unusual for us as well, because we're from New Zealand, as I say, where people are very mellow and relaxed. When you're in America doing the same thing, you have issues here with guns, for instance, we don't need to worry about in New Zealand. And so there's stuff like that that's flowing through your mind. But at the same time, we'd thought about it a lot. There was a story that we thought was worth telling, and we had each other. It was essentially, it's 4 New Zealanders in a van driving around America, sort of egging each other on to carry through with things. So when any of us would be a bit nervous or be a bit unsure, we'd just have a team talk and sort of just push each other on.
You guys would rally around.
Thanks for saying I'm brave, but the team around me, we all sort of contributed to what we did.
Was there a tipping point where you thought, the team consensus is, we should probably let this go, we should walk away, we're going to get sued into oblivion?
There was a part in the film where we were literally driving quite a long time to get to Muskegon in Michigan. It was cold, it was freezing, and we were literally going there to meet some MMA fighters who were involved in this world, and we didn't know whether they were on our side or the other side. And I think we all thought at that time, we're like, is this a good idea? None of us can fight.
These guys are trained in ground and pound.
It seems like maybe this is a bad idea. But again, it's we're so far in by that point, we had to finish the film, so we did it.
So now, as you're doing press and people are seeing it, obviously private investigators are showing up to screenings, but are you getting weird phone calls? Are you being sued? Can you even talk about it?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things going on. There was a woman at a festival I was at. She tapped me on the shoulder and said, are you David Farrier? And I thought she was someone who'd seen the film and wanted to talk about it. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm David. I'd love to talk.
Yeah. And if you want a photo, I'll take it. That's fine. Wherever you want.
But before I could do that, she just said, you're served, and handed me over 2 lawsuits. So we are being, we have been sued now.
2 of them, huh?
Yeah, 2.
Congrats. Lawsuits akimbo. Welcome to the USA,
it's
baby.
so nice to be here. I love the way you do things here. So there's been that, and then, just last weekend we were showing the film in LA at the Nuart, and I think we're showing at the Landmark at the moment. But at the Nuart, 3 of the key people from the film turned up and, engaged us quite heavily during the Q&A. And Dylan, I was in New York, and my co-director Dylan was in LA, and the main subject of the film was there. And, in front of a packed audience during the Q&A, they took the mic and they basically said to us very clearly that this is far from over. We need to get better lawyers because this is just going to go on and on. So at the moment where I'm sitting, I don't know what's going to happen. The film's out,
sure, and
that's great. But the story feels like it's very much still an ongoing thing.
Well, so this is the problem that I have with
my movie.
No,
Let me have it.
Actually, I did. It's very rare that something ends. Every time the credits roll on a thing, maybe I stick around for whatever the Marvel bonus scene is. But I'm usually going, that could have done with 35 minutes less.
Yeah.
But this entire journey, I'm wondering, when do you pull the plug, because you have to deliver a movie at some point, and this took years to make. Yeah. Was it hard to finally press stop and go, okay, well, this is where this chapter or this part of the tale ends?
Because it was hard.
It's still happening.
No, it is still happening. And I'm very aware that things are still happening. But I guess we set goals to, we wanted to find out what exactly was behind this, you know, who Jane O'Brien Media was, why they were doing what they were doing, and to get, you know, them on camera. And that's what we did, and that's where we stopped the film. Of course, I mean, there are more questions. But, I mean, that's the great age we live in now. I feel like we can put this movie out. It doesn't mean the story stops, you know, like part of the joy of this is that you can watch the film and then you can Google it and do like your own deep dive and just find out all this other stuff that's happening, because a lot of the people in the film, they're all online. They've all got something to say and they are debating it in various forums and on blog sites and comments on blogs. And it's great to kind of follow that. And if we had waited for that to happen, I mean, we'd never finish it.
Sure.
You know.
Well, but in your heart of hearts, is there going to be a Too Tickled, Too Curious? Are we going to see? Are we going to see the action-packed sequel to this, or are you done with tickling for a minute?
I don't know. I mean, some days I'm still fascinated by it. Other days I just want to talk about anything and think about anything but tickled. But you know, but it's like Taken. Like Taken was a great film. Taken 2, rubbish. You know, so I don't know if there's room for a Tickled 2 or not. You know, maybe sequels aren't usually a great idea.
Right.
But at the same time, when you've got private investigators showing up in screenings and you're being sued, maybe there is more to tell.
They're handing you a story. Like they're aggressively handing you a story by trying to get you to stop talking about it.
Which is what this company's done.
Thing.
I know, that's what this company... I mean, if this company at the beginning hadn't said, we don't want to deal with a homosexual journalist, if they'd just said, you know, we're a bit busy today or we've got something else on, then I would have walked away.
Right.
Like, I'm in a newsroom where I need to file daily stories. I would have just done something else. But that response and then them physically flying 3 people to New Zealand, I mean, that's like flying the talent to me to start shooting.
Right, exactly.
So, you know,
we're going to fund the pilot for you. Here you go. We're going to show up on your doorstep.
Yeah, and now the film's out. They're turning up at screenings. And I mean, that essentially is just giving us more publicity in a way. So it's...
Well, people are thinking that your screenings are part performance art to promote the movie, which is insanity.
Which I can assure you it's not.
Yeah.
But, you know, at least people are like having that debate about it. I'm glad people are talking about it.
Right. So, you know, but prior to this, I had seen a lot of interviews. I know that you were doing the kind of TV presenter thing for a minute. What is your background that led you somehow into a tickling documentary?
No. I mean, I studied at journalism school, and then I ended up working for this TV station where I could just cover pop culture. Because I mean, no one else, there's not many people in New Zealand. We've only got 4 million people. So for some reason, no one else wanted to do that round. And so for 9 or 10 years, I've been looking at quirky stories, you know, whether that's Justin Bieber turning up in New Zealand and for the first time and doing a show, or whether it's a survivalist or a woman who's obsessed with donkeys or a tickling competition, right? So I've always done strange stories. This was the first one that jumped out where I thought this justifies like a lot more than a 2-minute or a 5-minute sequence.
Yeah, forget the clickbaity title on the blog,
totally.
And forget the 2.5-minute DT. Let's dive deeper.
This is something we can do like a real deep dive into, and and find out some truth behind it. You know, I mean, it's an investigation, and I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but someone kind of said like this is like, you know, making a murderer or something, but with tickling instead of murder. You know, it
100%.
It does go down this very strange dark place.
I don't know how sick and tired you are of talking about it, but like in the short time that I've been aware of the project and that I'd seen the movie, anytime it gets brought up and someone goes like, "Oh yeah, that's the tickling movie, right?" I go, "No, well, yes, but," and there's this whole other tale there. There's so many layers. It is a rich onion.
No, exactly. And I mean, maybe when you call the film Tickled, people are just expecting, tickling for 90 minutes.
Sure.
But it's really not. And I don't think you could maintain a feature documentary with just tickling for 90 minutes, So it's less a film about tickling and more about sort of power and control and money, and where a complete obsession can take a person.
So then I'm assuming you're in full PR mode for this thing. You're clearly doing interviews and you're showcasing it, but are you already thinking about the next film, or are you going to want to get back to the pop culture beat? Like, what's in store for you?
I've done pop culture reporting for 10 years. I think I'm going to take a break from that for now. I mean, I've taken this year off just to sort of take Tickled around the world and sort of share it with people and show people. So I've got other documentary ideas, not tickling related, so working on those. But, documentaries are hard. I mean, this took 2 years to make, and I think that's a pretty short timeline, for a documentary. I think most take at least 5.
Sure.
So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I like to think the rest of my life won't just be tickling related, but we'll see. I
could
mean,
you
maybe
imagine that, like in your wildest dreams when you woke up that morning to go through the blogs and check the beat on, okay, what's the story to report on, that this extreme endurance competitive tickling story was going to be.
Now. I mean, and to have a film in American cinemas just seems, I mean, I love movies, I love documentaries, and I would have never in a million years dreamed of something like this happening, just being at Sundance was amazing, and, let alone being out in 50 cities in America. I mean, I feel lucky, and I feel, the whole reason we made the film was to expose what's happening. What better way to expose something than to have it playing on a massive cinema screen?
Now, what was your favorite scene to masturbate to? Because right away, I mean, the first frame, I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know. No one told me.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Did you at any point ever find any of the tickling or the scenes or any of the struggle, any part of it arousing?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. One thing I learned from Tickled is that I don't enjoy
You don't
tickling,
have the fetish.
and I mean, we met this tickling fetishist in Florida, and for him to agree to be interviewed, he said to me, I'm going to tickle you for 10 minutes. And you're not just talking about him walking up to me and tickling me. He tied me down to this.
Oh, you got the full treatment?
Yeah, the full treatment. So he's got this full S&M setup where your arms are tied back here and your legs are in stocks. And he just tickled me for 10 minutes straight. And it was it's so fucking awful.
It sounds brutal.
No, it's horrible because this is a man who is a professional tickler. Like, all he does for a job ever is tickle people, right?
So this isn't your older brother pinning you down, or
he's a professional. He'll move around your body so quickly, and he'll sense where's ticklish and where's not, and then he will just go for it. And there was no safe word, there was no way to get out, and it was torture.
So he's like a raptor testing the fence for weaknesses. He's finding where your spots are.
He's testing your body for weak spots.
And so what did you get? Did you get the Sonicare toothbrush treatment?
He found out my feet were my worst place, and so he lubed up my feet with KY gel. This isn't in the film, so you don't need to worry about watching this.
No, the Criterion edition though. This will be on the director's cut, right?
I never want this to be anywhere.
This must be on his site. Did he film it?
Yeah, it is. He filmed it. Yeah, I'm on his porn site. That's like a weird special feature to the film. But no, he lubed up my feet, and when your feet are being tickled, your toes tend to sort of creep in like this to curl in. But along the top of the bar, he had shoelaces, and he tied each toe back individually.
Oh my God, what a masochist.
Then lubed up in there, and then he got one of those really wiry not toothbrushes, like a hairbrush.
Yeah.
And just ran it up and down. And it was like the worst thing I've ever experienced. I'd rather someone punch me in the face than do that.
So it's awful. Does it hit the point of because you're laughing but you're restrained?
Oh, you're in pain.
So it gets to the point of pain then, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why tickling is such a strange thing, because you're laughing, but you're not finding it funny. You want it to stop. But part of the tickle torture is there is no safe word. You were just tickled until you break. And I felt broken at the end of that 10 minutes.
What, just like a flop sweat and
awful.
And just
it was like I was sore for days because every muscle in your body is, contracting, and you just feel like a mess. I mean, maybe that's like a new workout that's going to Sleep America.
Immediately.
It's like the tickle workout,
it's going to be
right?
a 10 DVD
it's like,
series.
Hey, have fun and get fit. It feels like it could be marketed in that direction.
That is insanity.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so tickling, to answer your question, I don't like tickling at all.
So we mentioned briefly before we got rolling, because I noticed the Rockstar Games shirt.
Yeah.
Wikipedia mentions a thing or three about you going to E3. And I figured this was clearly you did some research on the podcast. You're like, how can I pander to this audience?
Yeah, I know. We're a Rockstar t-shirt.
You went to a thing. But you mentioned that you're playing Doom.
Yeah, I am playing Doom. I'm not as heavily into games as I once was. I mean, this documentary distracted me a lot.
Sure.
But no, I love games, and Doom, I'm back in again.
Did you play
soundtrack, my God.
Oh, so good. So good. Did you love the original growing up? Is that why you say you're
Doom
back
was
in?
my in. I mean, Doom was my in. Probably Doom and Quake. For many people. I mean, I'm 33. Probably many people my age had the same experience.
100%.
It was complete immersion. I could not wait to get home from school. All I could think about at school was getting home to boot up the 486 and play this game. It was just everything to me. And then Unreal
SX or DX?
DX.
DX2?
DX. I don't know.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
No, I'm losing my cred
the
now.
DX is good. The fact that you know it was a DX was enough. Okay.
So, and then Unreal came out, and that was a huge moment. I had to update the graphics card and deal with all that. And I learned about building computers and making these. But then consoles came out, and that just I love that culture because it's easy. It's there.
Right. Oh, I don't have to fuss with an auto exec file and manage
Exactly.
my memory to play a thing.
Totally.
I'll just put in the cartridge or
That's
the disc.
kind of genius, right? And I think the Sega Mega Drive was another big. I was big into that growing up.
yeah.
The Dolphin and Sonic and all that stuff.
The best.
Flashback, probably one of the best games of all time.
So good.
Yeah.
The motion capture on the camera.
Oh, it's so slick. So yeah, I love games. I just don't. I wish I had more time to play them.
So is
and
that
Counter-Strike and Half-Life and all that stuff is a big thing.
Well, you can't just throw those in like that. Like, it's just an extra sock into the
Just
laundry.
another
like,
thing. No,
and
I mean,
then Counter-Strike and then Half-Life. Those revolutionary things
I feel like
are still popular today.
gaming has been a big part of my life. And, as a journalist, I felt like I'd lucked out because suddenly people would pay me money to go to cover something like E3. And that just blew my mind,
What the fuck just happened in this? I was trying to politely ignore the fact that someone decided to play with a Jack-in-the-Box in here in the middle of saying, or watch Baby Einstein DVDs. But what was that? What the fuck?
Is this a hint?
No, yeah, what
Am
the hell was
I being
that?
terrible? Is this
Did that
like
come
get
from
off
the
the
booth?
show?
Jesus. I apologize.
Jane
for
O'Brien
that.
Meteors hacked the show.
Exactly, they're
and
in.
they are
They're
pulling
in.
some
They're
shit.
pouring jelly on our microwave dish. We've been
They're doing
jammed. How dare
something.
they? So have you fucked around with VR or anything like that? Like, what excites you from a
little
tech or
bit,
gaming
yeah. I mean,
standpoint?
I've had a bit of a go at the Oculus Rift headset and stuff. I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I did that whole thing. Probably a lot of people did. Was that very like one of the early demos with the roller coaster where you're on there, and it's pretty interesting. I'm still a believer in. I mean, I don't like 3D films, for instance. I'm just excited by being very close to a TV screen or a computer screen and with a keyboard or a
excited
controller
enough to
doing
just
it.
have a lot of real
I'm happy
estate
to do
in front
that.
of you.
But I mean, it could be. It's obviously it's becoming affordable and could take us to some pretty amazing places. So I'm curious.
I'm just trying to plant the seeds for the next documentary. That's all I'm trying to do
Yeah,
here. I'm like,
yeah,
come
trying
on,
to give me
man.
some
Like,
little ideas.
Are you interested? How interested are you?
Yeah, no, I mean VR. I mean, God, I mean, like we all watched The Lawnmower Man back in the day.
Fuck yeah, we did.
Have you watched that recently?
I did.
Aged badly.
Oh, real bad.
Very, very
And I remember
badly.
liking Virtuosity.
Oh, yeah,
I also
yeah.
remember liking Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah,
Because I forgot
Keanu
there was a
Reeves.
hacking dolphin in that.
I know.
What the fuck?
I forgot
and
about
he gets
that
a
until
nosebleed
now.
because he's trying to store 4 megs in his brain. Like, what the hell is going on?
I need to watch this again. I completely forgot about Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah.
The 90s were a great time for they were like concepts taken to like this terrible extreme
Yes.
that they should never have taken them to.
Dude had a fucking nail pinky that he would pull off, and it had a laser whip in there. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was Johnny Mnemonic.
Swordfish is worth watching. That's
Oh, God, that was terrible as well.
pretty incredible.
So
but
terrible.
yeah, anything in gaming, I just wish I had more time to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine I'll get some sort of headset at some point.
Again, diving through, your past. I saw a lot of celeb interviews. Saw a lot of musician stuff
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, were there any take as someone who I have to sit on this side of the mic a
Yeah.
lot? You've been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
Have there been any takeaways throughout your journey and your career and memorable interviews that have given you a particular insight? Or
Yeah, I mean, I find a lot of the people who are treated in the media as being difficult are actually like the best people to meet. Like Russell Crowe, I love talking to him because he's interesting and flamboyant and he's an intriguing human
But
being
how did
to
he
meet.
establish dominance at the top of the interview? Did he break a bottle over your face?
No, he's
Did
very
he spit
practical. He's
in
just
the
like
camera lens?
right. He's like right. Let's start. He's just like very into it. Whereas he's just, and I admire that about him. And I think the people that are terrible interviews are the people that are new to it. I mean, musicians who have just like lucked out with an album and are
Right.
touring the world, they are a nightmare because they think they know everything. But they've got no great stories to tell because they're just in the game for the first time, So I just say that the people you expect to be bad interviews are usually incredibly great, and the people you think have been doing it for too long will be grumpy are fantastic.
It's so funny. I was warned time and time again about James Cameron.
All right.
To the point where
Yeah.
it was layers of
you-
publicists going,
Totally.
hey, he's going to rip off your head and shit down your
Yeah.
neck, and that's if he likes you.
Yeah.
So thank him for that. And again, right down to business,
Mm-hmm.
kindest guy in the world. Interview was done, super pro. He'd done it a million times, and out. It was one of my most memorable interviews.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's those people that you've been told will be terrible are usually like the best people imaginable.
How do
but
you-
I mean, I'm a fan of of TV and film, so I mean, I almost just use my job as a journalist just as an excuse to like be a creep and meet people, you know.
Right.
And when the great thing about being in New Zealand is there's not a lot of competition. So if Radiohead visits New Zealand, you're not competing with 20 outlets to meet them. It's like you and the guy, your neighbor down the road. You're the ones that are going to do the
Right.
interview. So it's very like flexible and easy that way.
Does it when you're given that info, though, this person's going to be a difficult interviewer. This person is known to be cranky, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
How does that manifest itself with you? Like, as a professional, do you get anxiety about that? Do you brush it off?
I used to. You just do your research, so you find out those points that have possibly made them grumpy in the past, and you figure out what those are, and you don't start with that question, I guess. But it's all in research. I think you go in there, you research the hell out of it so you know what you're going to talk about, but then also don't necessarily be, you find some journalists have a set 10 questions and they'll read those questions through and they're not having a conversation. So I think as long as you remember to actually have a conversation with these people, then it's all good.
Then you're fine.
The worst is the film junket you go on where they say Leonardo DiCaprio is promoting a film. He literally just sits in a hotel room all day. The cameras are set up. You walk in. You get 3 minutes. Right. You've got someone behind Leo's head giving you time, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, wind, and then, stop. That's the worst because, he's just got a smorgasbord of interviews. You leave, another one comes in and sits down in front of him. That's the worst.
You've got 15 seconds to establish rapport or chemistry.
Oh, it's a nightmare. You will have done these. You will have done junket interviews, right?
I did one, I believe. No, I did two.
Right.
I did two, and then I said I will never do one ever again because they're deaf.
And the fascinating thing, there's people on there's journalists on the junket circuit, that's all they do.
Right.
And some of them, they're great to talk to because they're like, I am best friends with Leonardo DiCaprio. This is my 10th time, hanging out.
Every time I go in, Leo remembers me. The first hat that I wore. It's like,
and it's like, no, you've met this person 10 times for 2 minutes a time.
Right.
They know who you are because the publicist tells you their name before you walk in.
Right.
But it's this whole world of publicity that's just, I find incredibly fascinating.
It's weird that it's still, like, with all the innovation and technology and the ability to broadcast one to many, that the junket still exists.
I mean, they're flying in journalists from New Zealand to America for a weekend just to do this, to sit in the same room with these people
for
and
5
talk
minutes,
to them.
And
you walk out, you get handed a tape or a card, you take that back to your country, and you cut your story out of it. So it's pretty funny.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
What was there was some Trent Reznor footage on your YouTube channel. Were you just a fan of Nine Inch Nails, or was that from that you shooting that? Because it was from his Hurt video.
Yeah, no, that's right. No, that was a story I did. I just did the story. I still write a little bit, and I met the guy. I found out the guy who directed the Hurt video for Nine Inch Nails lived as a New Zealander and lives in my old hometown in New Zealand, and so I interviewed him about this video he directed, which is one of my favorite videos. But I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and weirdly, the second story I ever did was 10 years ago as a fresh sort of graduate, was interviewing Trent Reznor in Australia. So I was that's the most, talk about being nervous in an interview. I was a mess. But he was great.
Was he kind to you? Or
he was incredibly kind. And I was sweating. I'd worn my brother's leather jacket because I wanted to look cool. And I was sweating in this jacket in this hot room. And he was really kind to me. And, come full circle, we used his music as sort of to cut some stuff to originally to sort of get inspired into the making Tickled. So yeah, Trent's great. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Back to the movie real quick.
Yes.
Because there was a sense as you're talking with, you said a lot of people were afraid to come forward and talk because it's Jane O'Brien media, very litigious, very powerful, clear that they're willing to spend money to ruin someone's life. Okay. You're chatting with some of these guys and it's very clear that they were absolutely powerless, or at least that's how they felt. They had no way of standing up to this anonymous internet bully or team of bullies. And as I was watching that myself, I got so mad. I was so angry because I felt their sense of powerlessness. I felt that, and I was like, "Well, but what could you do? What can you do? If someone finds themselves on the other end of an anonymous internet troll or bully?" Is there any takeaway? What can you possibly do?
No, that's what we're all trying to figure out, right? And I know there are pathways you can go down now to potentially, have an authority look into it further. But the trouble is with a lot of online bullies, it's all anonymous, And these people were dealing with, Jane O'Brien, who seemingly didn't exist, and, they've got these videos all over the internet. What do? You complain to YouTube? Do they take the videos down? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. How do you get your phone number taken off a website you don't own?
Right.
And I think that we're trying to figure this stuff out now. It's online bullying is obviously this huge thing that we're all trying to figure out. And I think the story of Tickled just takes that to an extreme. But in short, I don't know. We're still figuring it out.
Right.
It's a minefield out there.
Was that, you're there. Obviously, this guy is giving you a heartfelt story about how this video, this one-off little tickling thing that he did because his family needed some cash, has shattered his life.
Yeah.
In that moment, like, are you torn? Because on one hand, you're getting an excellent soundbite, an excellent piece for your documentary. On the other hand, that soundbite's being delivered because a man's life was essentially ruined by the subject.
Yeah. I mean, and
I just don't know how to reconcile that in my brain. I've never been faced with that.
No. It's strange if you're talking to anyone who's had, a tragedy happen or something that's not a positive thing. Part of your mind as a director, you're thinking, this is the exact story I need for this film. This is fantastic. And at the same time, you are going, this is terrible. I wish we didn't even have to talk about that. But you can have both those things at the same time. I mean, his story gains power by being in this film, So that's a huge positive for him. And I mean, he, in the sense, this particular man we spoke to, now when people Google his name, they're not just going to get these tickling videos. They're going to get this documentary that explains what happened and can hopefully help other people that find themselves in the same situation.
You amplify his voice, which was the only sort of recourse he has at this point. That's the only power he has. Is you gifted him that, actually.
Yeah. And he has found that, I think, to be rewarding so far. So now, good has come out of it.
Everybody knows you make a documentary for the money. Like, everybody just understands that inherently.
I'm loaded.
So what are the toys that you bought yourself? Did you go back and get a Neo Geo? Did you get a nice Sega CD with the 32X attachment? Like, what are you blowing this cash on?
I know this is a bit of a revelation, but I thought making documentaries would make you rich. But apparently someone lied to me, and this is like the wrong career path.
I mean, what is the hope? I mean, obviously it's in theaters now, and Did Magnolia buy it? Is it Magnolia that bought it?
Yeah, so Magnolia picked it up, and HBO. So Magnolia have it in cinemas at the moment, which is amazing, and then it's going to be HBO documentary films have it as well, so it'll be on HBO at some stage. So, at some point, we will get money for that, but at the same time, there's ongoing legal things stacking up. So whether that money ends up helping me invest in another film, and I just don't know at this point. I'm just in the middle of it right now.
That is, have you taken a second to take a step back from it? Because you did the documentary on the force that you're up against. You know the lengths that they will go. You know approximately how much money they have. I'm assuming more than HBO and Magnolia would give for a documentary. My palms would be sweaty.
Yeah, I haven't stepped back.
Okay.
And I'm
sorry if I just painted that picture for you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I'm aware, we were aware right at the beginning that this was going to be it wasn't going to be an easy ride.
Sure.
We were told that specifically by the company we were making the film about, that it wouldn't be an easy ride. So I'm aware of it. We're just, I'm really proud of the film. I'm really proud that it's out and that, we achieved what we wanted to with that. I can't control what happens from here. We'll just try and figure out the best way through it as things happen.
It is so, I cannot say it enough. It is so fucking good. It was such an amazing. I remember the story when it broke.
Yeah.
I remember talking about it. I remember the Kickstarter. I remember all that.
Yeah, you were there right at the top of it, right?
Absolutely.
When I was blogging about it in New Zealand 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, 100% in. And it was crazy because it actually seems like it was a decade ago to me. Just because the internet timeline runs that quick. And I'm sure it must for you. But to see it all come together, and again, it's like, whether you care about tickling or fetish or not, like, the movie is so much more than just that. You did a phenomenal job with it. So
thank you
for it. Really.
And it's surreal. I mean, it could have just as easily fallen over. Like, you hear about so many docos that are being made that for whatever reason they don't make it out. But I'm really proud that we're at this point now where people can go and see it. And
it just still blows my mind. I do want, if you have 5 minutes, I want to take some questions from chat.
Yeah, please.
So I'm going to let chat, if you're watching, if you're listening, feel free to fire away. Liz is going to come in, hand me the questions, and we'll get to those. But it blows my mind to think that all of this could have been completely disintegrated, dismantled, would have never even come to life had the email been a polite pass of like, we don't want to talk about our operation.
Completely.
Thank you.
But, I think just part of this, the way this company is run, sure, they love tickling, but I think part of the joy in it as well for them is the harassment side. So it's like they can't help themselves, like they see some conflict and it's like, we are all in on this. And
they go nuclear right away.
Yeah, totally. Nuclear straight away. That's exactly what it is. It's 0 to 100 straight away. And I think, maybe that's part of the joy of it for them is, not just using this power and manipulation to, get young men to tickle each other, but they're also, that same satisfaction they take from that, they're also getting from threatening people with lawsuits and verbal attacks and all the rest of it.
The notion that this troll has a mastery of the internet because, as you said, there's hundreds of domain names and clearly they're running this media empire. They've got a lot of money. The notion that technology was also part of the downfall. That they gifted you. I'm trying to not spoil the scene because it's a wonderful,
a wonderful
thing.
Okay. Yeah,
but the fact that because that in and of itself felt like, wait a minute, is this a trap? Or wait, is this real? Is this set up? Because it was almost like this person person or people are incredibly fiercely private, protective of their own info while exploiting everybody else.
Yes.
And yet they just said straight up, oh, hey, here's every piece of info you could possibly want about me. That must have felt...
No, it was crazy.
It was so fucking weird to watch.
Yeah, I mean, and you watch the film, and I think that is a part where you sort of think, again, this can't be real, but it was real, and there's a moment where we're gifted a lot of documents that should be private, but that we got. And it's just, it was outrageous because it happened at a point in the film where we're still trying to connect the dots. And suddenly we're almost handed this information.
The keys
and it was
to the
over
kingdom right there.
Completely. And, this was a company that has sort of shrouded itself in secrecy and deception, and suddenly this happened. And so, I was initially I thought this must be a trap of some kind. But you sort of see how it plays out in the film. But, yeah, it's a company that, they exist because of the internet, and the internet kind of ends up being their undoing, I think. So...
is anybody going to jail? Shouldn't somebody be going to jail?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll put the film out.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens from here. Yeah, I'm not an expert in the law, but, there seem to be some things going on that aren't great.
There seem to be many things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that aren't on the up and up, that are completely illegal. Even just that not having a release signed at the very least
there's a few
is enough
things
to topple
involved.
an empire, not to mention maybe identity fraud or theft or who knows.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Oh man, I can't. What's crazy is that like this chapter is now done for you, but it's the beginning of whatever this next chapter is. You're in it. You don't really have a choice. You're in it.
Well, yeah, it's happening now. I mean, I'm doing a Q&A tonight, for instance, after the screening, and I don't know whether people are going to show up from the company and heckle us there, or try and pull some sort of stunt, or whether it'll just be me. But I'm now hyper aware of like who is where.
Sure.
And and when people email me wanting a meeting about the film or something, I am doing a check on who that person is, because I can't just go and meet a stranger anymore.
What did this pull
up? Completely. This
felt
this
how did this
part
not
of the
raise
city
a
we're in.
flag? What
yeah,
the
I know.
fuck?
I was a bit worried about it, but the studio seems legit. I'm okay with this.
Thank you. Yeah, we double soundproof the walls so you can't hear the tickling going on behind the partition.
Yeah, I thought I heard some laughter drifting through.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's made me a little bit more paranoid than I was before I started the project.
Do you think is that going to go away anytime soon?
I don't think it will.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it will.
Fuck.
Yeah.
You're a brave man. You really are.
Thank you.
It's to know what you're getting yourself into, and there were many outs along the way where there were times where you didn't have to stand up. Very brave.
No, thank you. It has been a very strange journey. I mean, the company's set up a website now to try and discredit the film, and they're tweeting journalists, with their own opinions on things. So it goes on and on and on.
Too tickled, too curious. I'm calling it right now. I want to see the sequel. It might be 3-5 years down the road, maybe after your VR documentary, which I've signed you up for somehow. But
there's got to be someone making a VR documentary already, right?
I'm sure.
There's got to be someone doing that.
Oh, sure. It's happening right now. But your take will be far more interesting, I'm sure.
Okay. No, I'll take that.
I think so.
I'll work on it.
The questions are in. If you have time, we'll do 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer.
We'll wrap this bad boy up. Thank you,
anything.
Liz. All right, hot off the press. Still getting high off the toner.
I like this, with all this technology, it's printed
and brought. I mean, it could just be it's fine. This is all fine. We're all friends.
I love it. Right, quick fire round.
Murder Maid asks, how does competitive tickling even work if it really depends on the sensitivity of the host?
Yeah,
interesting.
It's not a competition. That's the main thing to probably put out there.
There's no leagues. There's no teams. There's no sanction. Anything. There's no refs.
No. That's something we find out pretty early in the film.
There's a motel room and some hard on their luck MMA fighters usually.
Yeah, it heads in that direction. So I think the only competitive element potentially is that they're wearing Adidas clothing, sportswear, different colours. I guess that's a bit sporty,
sure.
but that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Zildjian asks, did you discover any other weird or strange underground networks that are similar to the tickling thing in this research?
There's lots. I mean,
because once you go down the fetish
internet
there's
that
hole,
thing, like everything is a fetish, right? There's people that are in love with like the Eiffel Tower, like literally. A documentary's been made about that. And I mean, something that we wanted to make very clear in the film is that, like, that's fine. Like, we're not out to laugh or demonize any kind of fetish or subculture because
good on you, right?
As long as you're not hurting other people, be into it. We're all into freaky stuff. But it's the bullying aspects and the harassment that were problematic in the making of this. So yeah, there's a lot of fetishes out there, and they're all pretty fascinating.
We had a segment called Internet Fetish or Not,
where
we would kind of prose like, oh, is someone into this or not? And there was always a fetish, but cars stuck in mud.
Yeah.
Accelerator pedals.
Totally.
Feet on accelerator pedals. So the stiletto videos crushing cell phones.
I mean, there's everything.
Like a thing.
I mean, the fascinating thing I've found since making Tickled is that, as I said, I made that tickling video to get the interview. That went on a tickling porn website. I'm now getting inquiries from people saying, I loved your feet in that video. Can I buy a pair of your used socks? So that's my life now, is getting those kind of emails.
Well, hey, if you can't break even on the dock with the legal fees,
how I'm going to make money.
We always know.
How much do you reckon for a pair of socks? How much do you charge?
Well, what are you going to do?
I reckon $50.
Are you going to stomp on mashed potatoes in them? Or are you going to
just wear. They just wanted me to wear them.
You're not going to sweat them?
Well, no, you worn. You wear them for a day. They're probably going to smell a bit, right?
I'm not interested in that. It's got to be like at least 5 to 7 days. It's got to have.
Was it you that emailed me?
I was very clear with my instructions. I was very clear.
So yeah,
what are you going to say?
That's life now.
I have a friend who's an adult entertainer, and she, once a month, she sets a couple hours aside to jam panties inside of herself, and then put them into a Ziploc bag and mail them off, and that's $40 to $50 a pop for her fans.
That's easy money.
And that's just it's just. I mean, she'll binge watch Friends.
Yeah, and
just plunge it. It's like feeding for foie gras at that point. I think you just jam it in
and just pops it in a little baggie
and zips it up, writes a little love note, and boom, there you go. $45-$50 a pop.
Yeah, that's great,
there you go.
Isn't it?
I've got a stockpile at my house. I tried to run the same racket, did not work. Nobody wanted it. Not a single person.
Power to her. That's amazing because she doesn't harass the people that she's sending the things to.
They want a product. Totally. She's doing it. She's like, well, that is a literal moneymaker. It's $40 to $50 a pop.
Okay, maybe like $40 for the socks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, if someone went that far out of the way to see you on a tickle fetish site and reach out to you for your socks,
find my email.
That is your one very loyal customer.
All right.
Milk that for all it's worth.
All right.
Offer to do like a coconut oil rub down because I will pay extra for that. I will. If you'll put tempura flakes on your foot and just flash fry the sock when you're done, I will make a meal out of that madness.
Okay, $90 for that.
Oh, that's a steal. You could have quadrupled that and I'd have been in. Onyx64 asks, how was the film received at festivals? Did it create awareness or did folks still think it was an art piece? Well, we kind of got into that a little bit. Some people do think it's...
Yeah, some people do think it's a joke. But no, at festivals, if you're in a festival, people assume it's gone through some sort of vetting process and people are like, okay, this is a thing. So yeah, the festival circuit was fun. Best thing at a festival is that Sam Neill, my favourite film is Jurassic Park. Sam Neill, star of Jurassic Park, he went to see Tickled at Sundance, gave me a big hug afterwards. So that was probably the best festival.
And then he said, hey, about that sock email. What do we got, buddy? What are we really doing
here?
Can
I have your email?
Can you go for a quick jog? I honestly, if it came out even having this interview and getting to meet you and again, loving the movie, loving everything about it, if 3 years from now it came out that it was an art piece, I wouldn't be mad in the slightest.
You'd be okay with it?
I would be entirely okay with it. I would think brilliant because in this day and age to be able to pull off.
All right.
Because I went and looked at the site and that means you at least set up a fake site for the fake network and I didn't go deep dive into who is records or anything like that.
You wouldn't resent me for it?
No, not at all. I'd be like, kudos. That was really well done.
It's good to know. I'll tell that to our lawyers.
Good, please. Let them know.
I'll note that.
If you have to come out and say it is an art piece to defend yourself, go for it. What was the most bizarre thing during this project that sort of normalized once you understood it better? Asks Casper Alf.
Yeah, probably just the tickling. I mean, we filmed a few scenes with Richard in the film, who's the professional tickler, and models would come in. And remember, the first time I saw that and saw someone being tickled like that, restrained, it was very unsettling to me, just because they're kind of in pain and you're sort of watching it. But as I talk to Richard and the models, you kind of just understand that it's the thing people like.
Right.
You start to think about what tickling means and what it is exactly, and what you think about it. And as you process that, it becomes much more normal. Yeah.
That's still it's still weird to me.
It's an unusual situation where someone has, the ultimate power.
It's
over
control,
someone.
right?
Like someone's tied down. The other person has complete control over them. It's not whips and chains.
What would I understand? Like you said, it crosses over into pain and it's exhausting and every muscle is tense. But what would be I'm sure someone has tried a 24-hour tickle torture
I think you'd
session.
die.
Would you die? What would happen? What would be the breaking
point? If you were tickled for long enough, I think you'd probably die. You'd have to die.
I think we know our next Twitch marathon. We have to do it. You gonna bring those toes to the party?
I'm there.
We'll do it. As long as the donations keep coming in, we'll keep tickling. Is that allowed? Is that legal?
What, to kill someone via tickling?
Well, we're not. That's not what we're setting out to do.
Let's be clear. You definitely can't.
That's not what we want to do. But if it happens, so be it.
Just get them to sign a release, right?
Our final question from Too Casual: are you planning on delving into more controversial and darker material for future films, or are you going to stick to content that appeals to you more?
Yeah, I think I'd like to do another investigation, I suppose. So whether that takes me to a dark place or just somewhere different, I'm definitely looking in that area for sure.
You're not daunted and exhausted by the prospect of making another?
No, I'll take a little week's holiday,
okay,
and then get back into it. Yeah, I don't have a huge urge to rush back into doing Justin Bieber interviews just yet.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take a little break.
New Zealand, very quick. I've never been. I've been told I need to go. I've been told it's amazing.
You've seen The Hobbit?
I have. I have indeed.
Like that.
Okay, so that's it?
That's it.
Okay, so grab a long beard and a staff and showing up.
Yeah,
and
little
magic
hairy
happens?
Hobbit feet and you're away. But, it's New Zealand's great. It's very laid back. It's very casual. Lots of nice scenery. Lots of beaches. It's great.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm talking it up. I live there.
No, you completely undersold it. You're like, it's good. It's good.
It's fine.
It's good. The pamphlet says like
nice.
New Zealand.
Yeah, there's
it's
nice
totally
scenery.
Fine.
We've got shops and stuff. We've got all the things you need to live.
What you described was so vague. It could have been Detroit or the moon, I think, as long as they have a boutique up there.
No, I understand.
We've got air.
Yeah, I love New Zealand.
Buy things.
I love New Zealand.
Yeah.
If you want to see New Zealand, there's another New Zealand film out at the moment called Hunt for the Wilderpeople, made by Taika, who is a friend of ours, and he is currently directing the next Thor film in Australia. But he has made a film, Hunt for the Wilderpeople, which showcases New Zealand beautifully.
Okay.
And that's out now as well.
Not a documentary, though, yeah?
No, it's a narrative.
Okay.
But see Tickled first.
Fuck any other movie. If you're going to see one movie between now and the next 5 years, it needs to be Tickled.
Taika, screw your film, mate. Screw your film.
That's the takeaway from all this. Tickled is in theaters now. People should go see it. They should make the trek to go see it. It is great. I'm telling them that. You don't have to tell them that. Great. It is 100% amazing. It's fascinating. You did an amazing job with it.
Thank you.
Again, brave. It takes I'm a nerd. I'm a techie. Just the twists and turns that technology allows this story to take, it just still blows my mind. If it was on rails because you scripted it to be as such, my hat is still off to you. If it turns out to be as real as you claim it is, even better. Just amazing. So I hope people go see it. And then if they can't make it to a theater, it should be coming to HBO.
Be coming on HBO soon. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. What else can we promo? How do we ride the promo pony into the sunset?
Just God, our movie, the website is tickledmovie.com. If you go to tickle.com, I think that's probably pornography. So go to tickledmovie.com.
Make sure you add that in.
We've got a list of all the theaters it's playing at. I'm doing a Q&A tonight at the Sunset Sundance Cinema here in LA.
Perfect. We had the social screen up for Tickled, but how do people find you on Twitter and Instagrams and all that madness?
I've just had my first viral tweet, which I'm very proud of. I'm up to 60,000 retweets. Is that good?
What the hell? What? That's great.
Yeah, I was traveling on a plane, and this woman had this giant, toy hamburger.
Oh, the hamburger that was belted in.
And she strapped it in. Yeah, so I tweeted that, and it went crazy. Anyway, my Twitter is... More people have seen that tweet than the film, I think.
I have a buckled food fetish as well, though. So if you get me, even an In-N-Out meal strapped into the passenger of a Jeep, I'm in.
You're a real sicko.
I can masturbate to anything, man. Don't test me. Don't test me. I finished twice during this interview.
My Twitter
It sounds like a children's Jack in the Box when I come. I don't know if you heard that.
I heard something. I heard some weird sound effects.
Followed by a wah-wah horn, apparently. Sorry, David. How can people find you on Twitter?
Twitter is just at David Farrier. or if they want the movie, it's at Tickled Movie.
Love it. Thank you again for taking the time.
If you got any more questions, hit me up on there, and I will happily answer them.
When Tickled 2 is announced,
Tickled 2,
I'm gonna say I called
The
it
Reckoning.
It's going to happen.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
We can make it a narrative. It doesn't have to be a doc. Maybe we could just go into complete
true.
narrative like fiction.
Well, maybe now this is, you were exposed to it in Florida.
Yeah.
It has become a closet fetish for you.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
now
I take over the
hell's
empire.
going to break loose. That's what I'm saying. You become your own worst enemy.
Oh, this is good.
The snake eats its
This is really
tail.
good. I'm into this.
Good luck with the screening tonight. And again,
Thank you
for taking the time. It's incredible. Tickled the movie. Go see it in theaters. If you, for some reason, you can't because you fail at life, then get it on HBO later. But go see it in the theater. It's great. I wish I would have seen it in a theater so I could have heard the gasps of everybody
It's fun.
else.
It's fun to watch with people.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Thank you again, David.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Cool. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing, for sharing, for all that madness. Keep watching us at twitch.tv/theattack for this and more. And that's it. There will be a better wrap when it's on